Hey, everybody. We are here today with a great opportunity to talk to a football coach who is coaching here in East Texas, who also has some ties to Stephen F. Austin, as well as just the East Texas football community. And his name is Drew Smith. We're going to introduce, I'm going to let Drew introduce himself in a second, but just to give you an idea, Drew's coming from a wealth of knowledge and background in the sport of football. He played some high school football um, uh, at a couple of schools in Dallas and also just outside of Dallas. He won a state playoff, if I'm not mistaken, in 2011 with Dallas Parish Episcopal School, a TAP state championship. He was also a second round all state. All district quarterback that year and got an honorable mention for all state. He also spent a couple of years at Sherman High School in Sherman, Texas, and then went on to become a lumberjack here at Stephen F. Austin for what was it, 2 seasons, I believe, or 1 season?
One season.
1 season, and then went off to East Texas Baptist University, where he played there for a couple of years before pursuing a profession in coaching. So I'd like Drew to kind of introduce himself and where he's at right now and what he's doing.
Thanks for having me, Rob. Like you said, I played football basically my entire life, and my dad was actually a coach as well. So it's really easy to see possibly how I got into coaching. I was always around the field house at a young age, and I just really, really loved it through high school and through college. Just constantly challenging myself, as far as the playbook or breaking things down. My 1 year at SFA, and I loved it. Axum Jacks. Really taught me a lot with that coaching staff. They told me anything you can do as a backup quarterback. At the time I was a backup quarterback, is going to lead you right into coaching. And they were right. Because that role, being a backup quarterback, you have to prepare yourself like a coach. And it just really fueled the fire of wanting to become a coach every single year. And like you said, ended up graduating from ETBU, got my first coaching job in Denton, and actually got that first coaching job from my offense coordinator from high school. He coached me. The defense coordinator at the time also was the head coach of mine. So, it just all kind of fell in place. And coaching in high school or coaching in general, it's all about connections. So I just had the right one.
So right now your job is at Wills Point. And I'm just looking, this year may not have been the most successful year for the team, but can you talk a little bit about what it's like to go into a situation like that and be working with that particular program with your particular skill set and also some of the experiences that you've had? I mean, what makes that situation great for you right now?
So Wills Point, we were 1-8 this year. It's definitely a little rough year, not just with X's and O's, but with COVID-19 hitting and everything. So that just threw a wrench in a lot of different things. And there's not a single coach or teacher that could have prepared you for this. It's just something new. But with that being said, I got a call in May. I was working in Corsicana, and I got a call in May to at the age of 26 years old to come be the offense coordinator here. And I jumped all over it. I knew that's what I wanted to do. I love the offensive side of the ball. I like having some charge, being in charge of things and taking a lot of responsibility on. But I knew the big step that it was going to, take, and I knew the challenge it was going to be being young and leading a group of young men, but also leading a room of grown men. Because, we have guys on the staff that are 40 years old plus, and they're looking at me as 26 years old. And you've got to really be on your P's and Q's and show them that you mean business and that you're prepared and you're here to do a job, and that you're energetic about that job. Obviously, some of the guys that I played for in college definitely set me up for this success. Just the knowledge that was poured into me at SFA and the spread system, at ETBU with Scotty Walden and his RPO system. So big shout out to a lot of those guys because they really helped me, kind of have a head start in this career. Year 3, I'm at a spot where some guys don't get to until 15 years down the road, and I'm forever thankful. So I love it.
So when you talk about, because I think you're probably mentioning something that maybe some students aren't familiar with, is you are a relatively young coach to be in the position that you're in right now. When you talk about your career escalation, I mean, how long did you spend at each stop professionally before you got to where you are? And then maybe if you could compare that to what other people generally spend on their career path, just so people can get a sense of just how remarkable it is.
Yeah, and there's no one way to do anything, especially in the coaching realm. Every single coach has a different path, and no path is greater than the other. You have your own story and ride that ship. But for me, my first year I coached in Denton, and I was just the quarterbacks coach. So I was just focused on one position. And it's what I played in college and high school, and I really really enjoyed it. Well, that year I got a call from one of the biggest names in Texas high school football, and it was hard to turn down. And he wanted me to come be his quarterback coach and a pass game coordinator. Okay, well, just right there, I'm working with somebody whose name is, it's all about connections, all about networking. Well, his name on my resume was going to look really good, and and taking now another responsibility and having just more of a challenge and more on my plate of being a pass game coordinator. In year two, and I said, yeah, like no doubt. And it was at a big time program in Corsicana. And then once again, towards the end of that year, I got another phone call from a friend that I worked with for 2 months while I was at Denton. He came in at the end of my, time there, but we made a good connection, kept in touch, and he offered me an offense coordinator spot. Being a quarterback coach my first year, sometimes people don't get a position coach their first year coach, and sometimes they got to start down at junior high. But if you know the right people, sometimes you can get your own position. Having then the next year having the pass game coordinator tagged on, like we were just talking about, sometimes that doesn't happen until 6, 7, 8 years down the road, if that. I was just blessed to know the right people and have people, throw my name in the hat of, with good connections. And then of course, year 3 being an offense coordinator, is just a blessing. I can't tell you how it happened. I'm thankful that it did. And this first year of being a coordinator was very challenging. Loved every second of it though. And I learned so much. And I think I've grown through these 3 jobs. I think I've grown 5 times faster than most people have, just because of the responsibility put on me. And I wouldn't trade that for anything. So very, very, very thankful of that.
One of the things that I know we spend some time in this course looking at is some of these desirable qualities that coaches need to have. And it sounds like, one of the things that you have excelled at, not only with having great connections, but also having quite a bit of just embedded knowledge of the sport of football, and maybe the ability to communicate that well, to at least to the point where people who you work with see a lot of potential in you. Can you talk about just some of the skills that you feel like not only yourself, but maybe new coaches need to bring to the table early on in order for you to even consider looking at them or to have some success? What are these like handful of skills that you're definitely saying that has to be something that's on your plate?
Yeah, and I think this topic right here hits home very just soon, because we had 2 coaches this year. It was first year coaching, and with me being kind of a younger guy, they kind of leaned on me. And I told them the first day, I said the 3 things that you're really going to have to focus on, and the 3 things that you need to succeed and excel in, and kids will get behind you, and other grown men will get behind you, is one, leadership, having a good leadership quality. And that means in everything you do. That means on and off the field. That means also in your classroom, because as our classroom pays 90% of our pay. So you better succeed in there, because if you don't, you're not even going to be able to have a chance to be on the field. And then organization, having great organization. And if that's something you struggle with, there's ways to go about to get better at it. And maybe it's you find one thing to get better at each 9 weeks, or one thing to get better at each month. And that's something I had to do early on, like, going to bed at a certain time. Like, I'm not in college anymore. Being better with my daily and weekly planner, and actually following it and completing everything on that plan. Everybody has a different way to do it, but organizational skills are going to be good for everybody. And then the last thing is just having energy, being an energetic person. And that doesn't just mean on Friday nights. Like, there's some people that coach this, and they're in this for just Friday nights. And I think that's wrong. You have to be energetic in the school building. I think you have to be energetic during practice, because you've seen it. Some days practice can get tired. It can get tiring very quickly, and kids, they don't want to be out there. Well, you got to do something to bring the energy that they might not have that day. And you never know what a kid's going through. You never know what another coach is going through. And just your positive energy and your upbeat, it could change their day. It could have a difference in that practice or a difference in that game. And not just to mention like the day-to-day thing with young men. Like I work with kids that are 15 to 18 years old, and just being that positive light in some of these kids' lives, it can change their life outside of football. Football is the most irrelevant thing here. It's about changing young men into, one day being better men, better fathers, better husbands. Like that's the things that we focus on. Football will then kind of domino effect its way into it in a successful way if you can do those things.
I got two questions for you that I think are going to be key here. One, going back to your just knowledge of football, it's like you obviously work with a lot of people who come from a lot of different experiences, some playing high level football, some maybe less so. How much does the knowledge of the sport, in your experience, matter to somebody's ability to be a successful coach?
Knowledge is a huge part of it. Your X's and O's, especially if you're trying to be, one of the top tier coaches as far as coordinator, head coach, it definitely falls in place. But especially as a position coach, like one of the biggest things is being able to build relationships with kids. As a quarterback guy, I can sit there and teach that kid all the X's and O's I want, but if I can't teach him to be disciplined and on and off the field, show up to practice on time, show up to meetings on time, he doesn't respect me. That's a big. If that kid doesn't respect you, or another coach on staff who's higher up than you doesn't respect you or how you carry yourself, they don't really care what you know about the game. So, if I had to put a number on it, I truly would say 50-50, because your knowledge does matter and you can't coach without the knowledge. But all the extras, your leadership, your building relationships, everything. I mean, that's a huge, huge role in it.
You talked earlier about having energy, and I think energy is such a broad word, and I think sometimes people get energy, especially like you said about just that Friday night energy, confused with motivation. Like caring about sports or caring about winning. Can you talk a little bit about how you motivate your players all week long, all year long, in and out of the football setting? I mean, what is motivation to you?
Trying to find their why is a big part of that. Why are they doing this? Are they doing it for just the fun of it? Are they doing it to maybe stay off the streets and give them some type of organization in their life? Are they doing it because they truly love the game? So every kid is different, just like in your classroom, just like on the football field, every kid's going to be different. And as a team, so that's one of the most difficult parts is as a team, how do you motivate the team as a whole? Because there are so many individuals. One thing that it took me a while, probably years of coaching, but I probably realized it this year. My dad kept telling me, because he was a coach and he's always, me and him talk all the time. He said, Drew, he goes, I coached you. He obviously, I've been your father. He said, I'm telling you right now, you're never going to coach another kid that loves the game more than you do. He said, it just doesn't matter. It never will, because in your mind, you love this game so much and you're giving it your all. And I had to take a step back and understand that and go, you know what? Not every kid out here is in it for the same reason as me. Not every coach out here is in the same reason as me. Like, we've got to find a common ground of what works with both of us or with all of us, and you've got to move forward with that. It is difficult.
I feel you on that one, because I think the motivation is such a fluid thing. Not everyone feels the same way about everything. And if you just try one strategy, it's going to hit with some people, it's going to fail with others. And it kind of sounds like you're echoing the same thing. So, the people that are going to be watching this are going to be folks that are within a year or two might be in a situation like you started out in, looking for a job or finding that first job. What would be sort of your last piece of advice for somebody who's about to transition into that world of trying to get a coaching job or trying to become a coach? What would you say to this group of folks?
Man, finding a coaching job, you might laugh. Finding a coaching job is a lot like picking the college you want to go to. Find a place that you feel like you're at home. And sometimes you don't have all the options in the world. It is about networking and knowing people. But don't just take a job because of the name of the school. Don't just take a job because of one guy that's on the coaching staff, or one teacher that's in the school, or because it might be close to where you live right now. Like, find somewhere that truly feels like home. Because at the end of the day, you're gonna have to live in that town. You're gonna have to eat in that town. You're gonna have to deal with those kids, those parents. Take every single thing in account. Is the school building something that you like? Is it something you can see yourself at every single day? And then on top of all of that, are you working with good men or good women? Whatever staff you're on, because that can make a big difference. You can be coaching a 10-1 team, but it might be a struggle every day in that coach's office because there's so many different egos and just different ways of life. So if you don't mesh there, if that doesn't connect, it definitely makes the workplace really hard to be in. So
I think that's great advice. I mean, especially the way you said the same thing about picking a college. It's oftentimes we get blinded by the name on the front of the jersey, and we forget that places are made up of the people inside of them. And schools are the same way. First of all, I just want to say thank you for taking the time out today, just to talk to me about some of your experiences in coaching, and I wish you the best continued luck. Sounds to me like this will probably not be your last stop. I've got a feeling you'll probably be the first 29-year-old head coach in Texas high school football history. But
awesome.
yeah, no, I just want to say thank you, and I think this has been extremely insightful.
Rob, thank you so much. Axum Jacks. And, I'm always watching. So
thanks, Drew. I'll hit the pause on this recording, and then I'll say goodbye to you.